Izturis to the Pirates. And it was a little bit of surprise by a lot of Pirates fans and by media pundits that the Pirates did not pick up his option following the 2007 season. There wasn't really much. Izturis definitely should have been the starting shortstop in 2008, but obviously they went other ways. And I believe Ronnie Cedeno may have been the Pirates shortstop in 2008. That might have been a little bit too early. And then they went from Cedeno to Barmes to Mercer. Mercer was there forever. And obviously now to Kevin Newman. But it definitely was a surprise for them not picking up the option. And, I mean, he wasn't terrible. 45 games, he batted .276, got on base at a .310 rate. Obviously, he wasn't getting his extra base hits very often. But another, I think, cool fun fact when I was doing my research about César Izturis and sort of his career, because I mainly focused on what he did in those 45 games with the Pirates. But when you look back to 2004, and we talked about Jack Wilson was the Pirates All-Star in 2004, one of the forgotten Pirates All-Stars during their 20 consecutive losing seasons. And in 2004, many argued that Jack Wilson, and myself included, should have won the 2004 Shortstop Gold Glove Award over César Izturis. And I do want to revisit a little bit about Jack Wilson, and I do think it's nice that Mr. Wilson, Jack Wilson, has sort of resumed his Pirates relevancy, if you will. He has been the Twitter sort of stay-at-home play ball guy on the Pirates Twitter. So if you have kids, or if you're, you play youth baseball yourself, you play baseball, you might have seen Jack Wilson on the Pirates Twitter, and his son goes to Grand Canyon University, and he plays baseball there. So maybe the Wilson lineage will continue into the majors. But on the whole, when you break down the numbers in 2004 between Jack Wilson and César Izturis, it's baffling that Jack Wilson did not win that Gold Glove Award. And obviously, I mean, the Gold Glove Award, a lot of it has to do with offense too. Jack Wilson had a great bat in 2004. It also had a little bit to do with the fact that you have the Dodgers, Los Angeles Dodgers, versus the 2004 Pittsburgh Pirates. And when you compare those two teams, you might lean to the Dodgers shortstop, who also happens to be a defensive wizard. And I also thought, just going back to the previous segment with Jack Wilson and the forgotten Pirates All-Stars, crazy. And I think it's worth noting again, Jack Wilson is one of the most underrated defensive players of all time. There are very few players that have accumulated the defensive accolades that Jack Wilson accumulated in his career. And Jack Wilson is he's a fondly remembered Pirate, but the reason why, again, I picked him for the Forgotten About All-Stars is because although he was great defensively, you might have forgotten that he made the All-Star game in 2004 for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Just might have not crossed your mind. But now it has. I'm sure of that. And again, on the whole, when you look at César Izturis' career and you circle back and you take a look at his career numbers, it's sort of reminiscent of Jack Wilson's career. Izturis didn't put up the career defensive numbers that Wilson did, not by any means, but at the same junction, they're defensively similar, they're offensively similar. Wilson had definitely had the better bat than César Izturis. But I just can't get over César Izturis for Greg Maddux, July 2006. I mean, trades happen all the time. Just look at the Pirates' Chris Archer trade in 2018. I know you might have cringed when I said that, but bad trades are... nobody is free of them. You're always susceptible to a bad trade. And, hey, it happens from time to time. And you never know. But I hope you guys like this Forgotten Pirates segment, and allows us and me to just reminisce a little bit. It's fun. We're here on a Saturday afternoon in the beautiful day in Pittsburgh, it's fun to reminisce. The Pittsburgh Pirates did not draft a catcher this year. Could they instead look to sign a college catcher who went undrafted? One position that many expected the Pittsburgh Pirates to address during the 2020 MLB draft was a catcher. Currently, the team does not have a single catcher rated inside their top 30 prospects. When the team ended up using 5 of their 6 draft picks on pitchers, many were surprised. The one hitter the team selected was New Mexico State infielder Nick Gonzalez. Gonzalez was considered one of the most elite bats in the draft, and he showed why this past spring. The Bucs' new top prospect belted 12 home runs while hitting .448 over his 16 games played for the 2020 season. However, there was another player on the New Mexico State team that should interest the Pittsburgh Pirates. The team's catcher Jason Bush had a strong season and should be open to signing as an undrafted free agent. Bush was playing a senior season for the Aggies before the season ended due to the global pandemic. Unfortunately for him, he likely missed an opportunity to get drafted due to this unforeseen circumstance. He got off to a hot start, batting for a .283 average, .421 on base, .522 slugging, with 2 home runs and 5 doubles over 14 games played. The most impressive thing is the fact that he walked 10 times and only struck out 10 times. This ends up giving him a 17% strikeout and walk rates, showing a good understanding of the strike zone. Bush is also very projectable. He has an athletic build, standing at 6'2" and weighing around 190 pounds, so there is definitely room for him to add power. Furthermore, he is a left-handed hitter, which gives him a bit more projection. One thing is that Bush is a redshirt senior, so he is already 23 years of age. Still, with it being such an odd time to add talent, the Pittsburgh Pirates need to take a shot at some of the available catchers. Bush caught for 4 seasons with the Aggies, has plenty of experience behind the plate, and seemed to be breaking out with the bat this year. Also, it may help to have Nick Gonzalez with the team, which could help persuade Bush to want to join the organization. And when it comes to this sort of recruiting process that we are in right now with the undrafted free agents, every sort of bit of angle that you can pitch a player, such as Bush, is going to certainly help. And when it comes to Jason Bush, having Nick Gonzalez, teammate this past spring and the past couple years with New Mexico State, that obviously helps. But the other thing that would help me if I was Jason Bush is, okay, I'm looking, seeing where I might end up playing. I could go back to New Mexico State. I do have that extra year of eligibility, but by the time I'm ready for the draft next year, I'll be 24. So I should probably go into professional baseball at this point if the opportunity presents itself. And, I mean, it definitely should. Ben Cherington should definitely make that offer to Jason Bush. But what I meant to say there was, if you're Jason Bush and you're taking a look, or really any undrafted free agent, and you're taking a look at, okay, where am I going to sign? I would honestly just go through the top prospects. So if I'm a shortstop and I'm looking, okay, the Pirates, okay, let's see what they got going on organizationally at shortstop. Okay, Cole Tucker, O'Neal Cruz, Giovanni Bay, Stephen Alamaze, Nick Gonzalez. Yeah, I might steer away from the Pirates because they have so many shortstops. Okay, but I'm Jason Bush now, and I'm going through my list, and okay, I come upon the Pirates. Okay, let's check their catching prospects. Okay, top 30 prospects list. Let's see how many catchers we've got on here. We're scrolling. You're like, oh, there are zero catchers on this list. Top 30 prospects? Let me refresh this page. Okay, we're scrolling. Wow, 0 catching prospects. Okay, so Jason Bush should be intrigued about coming to the Pirates when you have Nick Gonzalez and the fact that there are no top catching prospects in the whole organization. The best guy is Deion Stafford, for crying out loud. You also got like Arden Pabst, Jason Dele, and Christian Kelly. And I was going through and I was seeing, okay, the Pirates, they drafted a fair amount of catchers last year. I believe it was like 5, but none of them really did much of anything last year in the organization. They made zero headway. I mean, Deion Stafford is the Pirates' top catching prospect, and we did this with César Izturis and the Pirates. But wherever you are, if you're driving, if you're working, if you're chilling, I don't care what you're doing, raise your hand, please, if you've heard of the name Deion Stafford. Not Deion Sanders, Deion Stafford, Pirates catching prospect. I'll wait. Okay, I mean, again, with the Izturis thing now with the Deion Stafford thing, I'm guessing you probably didn't raise your hand, right? And it is exactly why Jason Bush needs to sign with the Pirates. Know why Ben Cherington needs to coerce him to come. And I would be dumbfounded if Jason Bush decides to go back to college for his age 24 season. That would be kind of crazy. Redshirt senior going back for year number 6. But when you look at Jason Bush, I mean, some of the aspects outside of why Jason Bush would want to come to Pittsburgh, why would Ben Cherington want to bring in Jason Bush? And obviously, it might help Nick Gonzalez having that familiar face around. But he is also a very projectable. He has a very projectable build. I mean, 6'2", 190. And what you like about him being at 6'2", and 190, and the fact that he did hit 2 home runs and 5 doubles over 14 games played, is he's 190 and he's doing that, but there's definitely room for him to grow. There's room for him to add power, to add weight, and to become an even better hitter. And the fact that he is also left-handed hitter gives him a bit more of projection. And Ben Cherington loves his projectable players. Jason Bush clearly fits that bill. And during this offseason, Ben Cherington, especially after he non-tendered Elias Diaz, made it very clear that the Pirates are going to add catching depth. And so far that's come in the form of the Luke Maile signing and the John Ryan Murphy signing. Andrew Susac as well. So the catching depth chart, if you will, goes Jacob Stallings, Luke Maile, John Ryan Murphy, Andrew Susac. So they will likely, I mean, in an expanded roster, I would imagine John Ryan Murphy could make the roster just because there might be a significantly expanded roster for 2020 if and when there is a season. But then you got Andrew Susac back there as well, who caught a fair amount of innings in the Pirates' original spring training in the 20 games that they had the opportunity to play in late February and early March. But I would argue Jason Bush probably is going to be able to make his way through the system, and he could be like a Jacob Stallings as catcher. And you'd be surprised if you heard that Jacob Stallings is 30 years old, but he is. That's what Jason Bush, I feel like, has the potential to be, and even more because he is a left-handed hitter. And you sort of like that coming out of the catcher box. You sort of think of Yasmani Grandal. Jason Bush be that. But I mean, the kid at 283 got on base 421. That's very impressive. And the thing that I really liked out of all of his stats is that he walked 10 times, right? So it's like, okay, you walked 10 times in 14 games. Pretty good, pretty good. He only struck out 10 times, too. That's impressive, too. And the fact he has a 17% strikeout and walk rate, so it's clear he has a good understanding of the strike zone at the plate. And from what I've heard on him defensively, it's pretty good too. And it's clear that when you look at undrafted free agents, and we're really in uncharted territory because usually your undrafted free agents are after 1,000+ players have been drafted. But now you're looking at a situation where you only had 150 players get drafted, and a lot of talent is still available. And I definitely think the Pirates would not be smart if they at least didn't make a pitch and make an offer. I mean, it's only a $20,000 signing bonus maximum that they can even offer Jason Bush. So we'll see what comes down to the pike there. I'd be shocked if he doesn't sign somewhere. Let's just, raise a glass to him, hopefully making his way to Pittsburgh and seeing what type of damage Jason Bush could do in the Pirate system. And I think he can shoot up it pretty quickly, given the fact that he is 23 years old.